Ja, då ska vi börja den här halvtimmen med att kort presentera, eller i varje fall informera om Winnet Sverige, som är Women in Network, vilket är resurscentraorganisationen för kvinnor som har haft och har ett uppdrag för att mobilisera kvinnor och organisera kvinnor att delta i demokratisk utveckling lokalt, regionalt och påverka även på nationell och annan europeisk och utanför Europanivå, för att kvinnor ska ha inflytande i regional jämställd tillväxt. Vill ni veta mer så har vi vår monter som finns kvar ett tag till här, i varje fall fram till 17, om ni vill höra mer om det som händer i Sverige. Nu ska vi då fokusera mer på vad som händer utanför Sverige och framförallt i det östliga partnerskapet. So now I will go on with the English with the question on how to increase the gender perspective for sustainable growth and development. And I'm happy to have you here, Mr. Ambassador, and also Winnet Armenia that have come from Armenia yesterday to present what you have done and the ideas for the future. I have a first question for you to answer from your perspective, and it's the following. What do you see is the most important gender equality issue that needs to be addressed in Armenia today? Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Britt-Marie. Thank you very much for this invitation, and I would like to convey my gratitude for the opportunity to be able to present the situation in Armenia, as well as present some of our successes in that field. If I come back to the question, I mean, what are the biggest challenges in the perspective of the gender equality in Armenia? I would bring three main, I would not one, but three main issues. The first one is, of course, underrepresentation of women in the elected bodies. And it goes not only on the parliamentary level, but also goes down to the municipal level. I mean, there are some measures already taken care. I mean, so if in the previous parliament in 2012 we had, for example, around only 10% of women representatives elected. Now, I mean, with the allocation of quotas in the party lists, I mean, we have almost 18% of women representatives in the parliament, but still, I mean, the number is not satisfactory. And the situation is more there with the with the local election bodies. There we have even lesser numbers. I think the national average is 11%, which is quite low. And but still, I mean, we are doing some steps. But of course, in the cities, these steps bring more results more quicker than in the rural areas. And in this sense, the Winnet experience is very much essential. If I identify the second question, the second biggest problem, it would be the fact of the high numbers of women unemployment in the country, and generally, I mean, women not satisfactory situation with the women involvement in the job market. I mean, there again, with the average of national 70%, we have 20% of women unemployment, which is quite high, actually. And especially, again, if I come back, the number is higher in the rural areas than in the regions than the capital and the big cities. There also, I mean, this is a situation which need to be tackled very carefully. I mean, introducing not only measures from the government level up to, but also providing some opportunities on the grassroots level, on the on the grassroots level and on the lower levels. And the third problem, which I would identify, it's still, I mean, the issue of the family violence. And there, I mean, with the family violence, again, most of them are, most of the cases are directed against women. Here also, I mean, if we see the 5-year trend, I mean, we see the increase of the number, which is due not because of the not taking adequate measures, but rather than encouraging the reporting and more adequate, reaction of the law enforcement bodies. And so, I mean, this under awareness raising campaign, which was also helpful to bring the problem out of shadow into the limelight. So, these three main areas which I would identify.
Thank you for your answer, and it's really interesting to have that in mind for the next step also for our cooperation. But then to Winnet Armenia, who will answer, Navard or Anna?
As noticed, Mr. Ambassador, we have a problem in election, in women participation in economic life, high unemployment women, and it's very high % in rural areas. And this way, we started our work in regional level, and we started from 2008 in OSCE office in Yerevan offered guidance and technical support to a group of women, which at first volunteered as knowledge their community needs, and then this woman became as a woman resource center in their communities. And we are the role which is very important since community to the national level to increase women participate in all in political and economical life of Armenia.
Okay, I will just continue the speech of my colleagues and mention about another disadvantage that we have in Armenia. It is a strong traditional stereotypes. Well, as we functioning in the very rural regions of Armenia, we saw that the stereotypes and traditions role very big role in the empowering in the women, women's empowerment. So these stereotypes, in many cases, just the main problem that keeps away women from the political level, from the decision-making level. So the role of our women resource centers is they raise awareness among women population in these areas and encourage them to be more active in at first in the civil societies activities, and then go forward and run their candidacy as a local in the local election, go forward and participate in the decision-making level.
Thank you very much. So then I really would like to ask Mr. Ambassador, because this is what you have now presented, needs really to focus on policy and strategy and action plans, which means what you should do, how to implement gender equality into policy, but also then in strategy, how to do it in action plans. And this is now ongoing in Armenia. Can you please tell us?
Thank you very much. Of course, if I start to bring the long, list of laws and some enforcement actions, it would be very boring for the audience. I would prefer to bring more specific examples and then to see how the results are achieved in the practice. For example, with the introduction of the party quota lists, at least 25% of the party candidates should be women. Already, we have increased from, as I told you, already increased from the 10 to 19% of the representation in the national parliament. The same goes if in the big cities, election of the big city councils. I mean, in Yerevan we had 15% in the previous elections, now we have 28%. And in second and third cities, I mean, Vanadzor and Gyumri, before it was 5%, now it's 24%. So this brings already results. But one of the things with this empowerment of women in politics, I mean, I see also the level of increasing the grassroots activity. So not only I mean, bringing the number up with some administrative measures, but rather than empowering women politicians in the parties themselves. And also bringing, I mean, the grassroots activity on the more equal level. So in this sense, the example of the VNET is quite striking and quite result-oriented. In their respective, in one of the regions when VNET is very active, I mean, we have the election of the women into local administration the numbers are 2 times higher of the national average, which is the result of their success. If we bring the second issue, I mean, as I told you, the women unemployment, and then we also, I mean, we need not only to introduce some, of course, some measures of the government, and then a low rate loans to women entrepreneurship, to women entrepreneurs, and then also providing some courses for women entrepreneurs, and then these activities. But also, I mean, there is a need to have it's a collective action and collective, I mean, accession of their own resources in the areas themselves. And in this sense, I mean, again, the example of Winnet is quite striking, that they are doing this in the regions. In the regions when the unemployment is high, when the again, access to the low rate banking loans is still very limited. So in this sense, I mean, the experience of Winnet is quite striking. And as I told you, that I see that this trend as a two-way street. I mean, initiatives from the government, but also initiatives from the civil society and from the local areas.
Thank you. And then the question goes further. How did you do it then to have this good result, as Mr. Ambassador said?
Fundamental principle of Women Resource Center is that our work is based in the local needs and conditions. In Sunik region, where we focused at first, it's Mehri, Kapan, and Koris Women's Resource Centers. We had a project, in the final of this project, 71% of our beneficiaries who were participating in this program as a local governmental members. They are elected, and it's really a result of our work. And then we decided to increase our areas of work, and we used our experience and launched 3 new centers in 2 other regions. We are working in political areas. We work with unemployment women, and we have a good result to establish social entrepreneurs organization, and we have most them 150 women from low-income families, and we teach them handicraft and then sell them products in different exhibitions. It is also our result of this project.
Anna, then how did you succeed with these unemployment women how to use the Women Resource Center as a meeting place, but also a way to support women to take power over their life, and how it became also very interested for the family and the man in the family.
So, thank you. The first, it came from the desire to have more women in decision-making level and in the policy-making level. So when we're starting to think about how to have more women in these two levels, we understand that women who are not economically independent and they are not sustainable, they don't have sustainable resources, and especially financial resources, they are not interested to go up and to be more active in the society and go to this political level. And from this, the goal comes to do also economic development and economic empowerment projects. So our women resource centers, they have two directions going together in parallel, which is the political empowerment and the economic empowerment. But we think that it is should be developed together because of these two components will assure women's participation in the local policy-making processes. So how we started, we just created the meeting place for women who have some skills and knowledge in the business development and entrepreneurship. And we are developing some projects to help them to be more successful in the business activities and run their businesses themselves. And by the one hand, we created business clubs where we give the support women like startups and business who wants to create their own careers in different fields, and we give them new skills, new knowledge, and up-to-date innovation solutions. And by the other hand, we created the handicraft studios where we help women from different vulnerable groups and low-income families to earn some income and some financial resources for their families. They are producing some handicraft products, and we help them with the marketing and the sales domestically in Armenia and globally.
And also, I do know that you have a partnership with the local and regional and national level for Winnet Armenia. But also, how you have used your skill also to have a network of journalists to support you when it comes to these issues.
Yeah, actually it is a good question. Thank you for that question, because all our activities, we are trying to give them, raise the importance of that through the sharing information about our activities. And all our women resource centers, most of them have journalist clubs and provide the media coverage all of our activities that we are doing in our regions. We also use this component during the supporting of women candidates. We organize and supporting them to run their candidacy, and also providing them this media platform to organize their campaigns.
Mr. Ambassador, when you hear this, it's also, I do know that you have the idea to see how Winnet Armenia can be a good example, and the resource center could be implemented all over Armenia, but also in the next step in the Eastern Partnership countries. What do you think about this, and how to go further?
But before coming to the question, I would like really to thank Swedish side for their help overall throughout these years, for their help in in strengthening the Winnet Armenia, and providing with the best experience. You definitely are one of the leaders in this sphere. And when it comes to the more regional, forwarding it to regional cooperation level, and then I should explain what is the Eastern Partnership is for the audience. Eastern Partnership is the EU umbrella platform for the cooperation with the 6 Eastern European countries. I mean, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. And if I bring the example to this level, or at a regional level, I would say the challenges of the countries are almost the same. I mean, we came out from the same cultural field. I mean, and of course, we did some local differences and some local success stories. I mean, we still face the same problems. I mean, again, underrepresentation of women in elected bodies. I mean, lower opportunities for the women entrepreneurship. And in this sphere, I mean, I understand Winnet's example as a grassroots experience. I mean, helping the local people to establish their own contacts, to assess their own resources, and through collective action and collective thinking, I mean, reach some results is really, I mean, exemplary, and I think it will benefit greatly to share this experience with other Eastern partner countries. But first and foremost, I will come back to Armenian experience. The organizations like VNET are, I mean, the scope and their effect of their work is not only in their mandate, I mean, in their field of experience. It rather than brings a strong culture of civil society working with in the grassroots activities, and then especially with the transition of economic transition of the country in the democratic institutions. I mean, transition. We 2 years ago we adopted new constitution, and we are changing the country into parliamentary democracy. And then in this transition, I mean, the role of the civil society is very high. I mean, and organizations like Winnet bring culture, bring experience, and it's commendable that both of us, I mean, international partners, but also government, should support their activities.
Because as I have heard, also the human rights defender in Armenia is supporting the development and implementation of Winnet model in Armenia. And it has started, as I understood. You have met women all over from Armenia.
Yes. Actually, I just would give this chance and thank Winnet Sweden, which was the first example for us. When we started in our regions in 2008, the Swedish model of women resource centers was the example for us, and the plan, like a level that we want to reach. So now we are the member of Winnet Europe family, and we are very happy for that, and that we can localize the best examples that you have in Sweden and also in different countries. And we want to share our experience, how we starting and how we achieved this so many successes with not only with the different regions in Armenia, but also in the Eastern Partnership countries. During these recent years, our network inside of Armenia was expanded, and now we have already 7 women resource centers in different regions, in different towns, but also since 2016, in the framework of Winnet Regional Development Program, which was funded by Swedish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thanks to this program, we starting to build the platforms for cooperation and partnership with Eastern Partnership countries. And the goal of this project and the long-term goal is to build this platform of cooperation and sharing the best experience and examples with these countries. So we hope that someday Winnet Armenia will be the hub of this partnership with the support of Winnet Sweden and Winnet Europe, of course.
And I think I would like to address Navad, who was a participant in the OSCE conference last year to present the Winnet model, because it was also about peace and security, because you have been supported of the OSCE organization in Yerevan. This is interesting also, that you can see you start something, then suddenly it comes to be some focus on peace and security.
OSCE office in Yerevan in 2007 started a research program, and they focused in this unique region because it was very far from capital Yerevan, and there are many problems to unemployment, very high percent of unemployment women. But in this region we have majority of population are women, and they have very high educated. And we started in 2008, but in 2010 we were in Sweden, and we saw here, and I was in this one of these women. We saw Swedish experience, but it was, as Anna said, very fantastic for us. But we focused in our needs and create our model, which is very important to implementing our work according to our needs in community. And we think that our continued work, our experience will be great for sharing this experience in Eastern Partnership countries too. We have our experience, we have our knowledges, and we have to share it to other network and women resource centers.
Then we have really last question, because now we need to finalize. What do you think, Mr. Ambassador, of the next step on this? Just short.
On the next step, I mean, there should be some complex of steps. I mean, one of them is, of course, to Winnet Armenia to get stronger in other regions of Armenia. They are now present in 4 regions. I mean, we look forward, I mean, for the project to expand it to 2 or 3 other regions as well. But also, I mean, there were already meetings in Tbilisi. I mean, there were in Georgia. There was a meeting in Moldova. I mean, to expand this experience, and then I think the cooperation will go on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to us. And if you are staying for some moments if there is any question.